episode number 1. Number yin, uno, un, multilingual. Welcome. You're listening to episode number 1 of the Caffeine and Coaching podcast with me, myself, and I. Today for episode 1, what we're going to go through just really quickly is a little bit about me, a little bit about my past, where I came from, how I got to where I am now, etc., etc. So sit back, relax, and enjoy episode number 1. You're now listening to the Caffeine and Coaching podcast by Ricky Cosgrove. We talk everything from my caffeine addiction to the fact that I coach frustrated men and women to lose weight, get into shape, and bulletproof their confidence without having to give up the foods they love. Sit back, take some notes, and I will catch you in today's episode. What is happening, everybody, in podcast land? I hope you are all good. Again, welcome to the Caffeine, if I switch this round right for those who are watching on YouTube. Caffeine, I'm just showing my white can of Monster. And Coaching podcast, episode number 1, of course. So, welcome. First off, today, episode number 1, I'm just going to go over sort of what I plan on doing with this podcast, the plans for it going forward in the future, all being well. And for episode number 1, I'm just going to cover a bit about myself personally, my background, where I came from, what I've done, how I got to where I've got to now in terms of coaching and business and etc. etc. So yeah, episode number 1 is just going to be about me, myself and I. So hang around and you maybe learn something about me that you never ever knew and that you maybe, hopefully, can connect with as well. So listen, we'll get stuck straight in. Thank you for listening to start with. If you're not already following me on social media, head to Instagram at Ricky Cosgrove Coaching. You will find me there. Make sure you're following there. But one of the reasons that I'm doing this podcast is pretty much, well, the first reason is nobody else is doing it, especially in my area. So I always like to think outside the box. So if other people aren't doing something, I like to try it to see if it works, because there's a reason why people aren't doing it. Because it maybe puts them in an awkward position. They don't like talking on camera. They don't like talking in their podcast, whatever it may be. But what I tend to find is whenever I do put myself out there and do something different and do something that other people aren't willing to do, it tends to pay off. Sometimes it doesn't. But hey ho, you will never know these things if you don't try. So with the podcast, I'm planning on just bringing you even more value. There's only so much. I understand that some people, don't even have social media. I've got a couple of clients there who don't even have Facebook or anything. And even though a lot of my coaching, a big part of it is ran through a Facebook group, some people just don't like Facebook, don't have the time for it. They find themselves, if they do have one or have an account, they'll spend hours and hours just scrolling through bullshit, and then they've lost half their day. So some people just don't like to have it, which is totally fine. I actually think that's pretty good in this day and age. I myself am an absolute nightmare for not so much Facebook. Now, don't get me wrong, Facebook's kind of work, my Facebook groups, etc. I don't really find myself scrolling through Facebook too much, but definitely Instagram, just scrolling through for too long, consuming more content than actually creating. I do create quite a bit as well, but some people aren't going to either see my posts. Some people aren't going to have the time whenever they do see it to sit and read the caption or listen to the video, and I just thought with the podcast, the reason I'm doing it on video as well and putting it on YouTube is because some people like to watch. Some like myself, I like to listen to podcasts, but also like to watch them. If I had a choice, and I was in the house and it was listening to a podcast on my phone or watching the podcast video on YouTube on the iPad or whatever, I would always pick the iPad, even if I'm not really paying attention to the iPad. It's just always there. I may do something, then I'll turn around and I'll look, and it's nice to see somebody's face. That's just me. But at least we have that element to it. And then we also have just a single podcast by itself where you can stick me in your headphones, you can fuck off out a walk, and you can just listen to me ramble for a little while. Apologies as well, I do swear. If you don't like swearing, unfortunately, you maybe want to switch this off and look for a different podcast. I do swear. I'm just going to be myself in this podcast. If you like me, happy days. If you don't have to listen. But yeah, that's the plan with the podcast, just to try and give those people value that can't read the social media or have the time to see it. Now, an average post on my Instagram, I've got only about 1,400 people. I say only 1,400 people is a lot of people, and I think people get caught up too much in the amount of followers they have. But I've got 1,400 people on Instagram. And if I look at my analytics for my posts, normally, they will tend to average around 3, 4, sometimes 500 views. So it's less than half the people that follow me actually see what I post. And I do put that down to kind of just maybe... obviously can't post every minute of the day. I can't post whenever you're specifically online. So I post when I think most people are online, and then obviously it's going to get pushed back through the algorithm. Some people aren't going to see it, so that's where the podcast comes in. You can stick me in your headphones, stand or off, listen to me ramble. As you can already tell, I do go off on quite a few rambles. But anywho, that's the plan with the podcast. Give you some value. Talk over coaching. Touch points. There's going to be Q&As, etc. where you can ask questions. I'll cover them on the podcast. I'm going to get some really, really awesome guests on from key people in my industry. And also planning for... I do have some clients who won't mind coming on video. But some clients on just to chat to you about their process, where they came from, their background, how they got to where they got to with their progress, etc. But for episode number 1, I'm simply going to cover me, myself and I, where I came from, how I got here, and everything in between. So I take a wee sip of caffeine. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Ricky Cosgrove. I am currently 31 years old. I am from Korean, Northern Ireland. I've been a coach now for about 7 years. 8, coming on 8 years I think it is. And it's been an awesome, awesome journey. Almost fell off close to the start. It was maybe 2-3 years in, and I was very much all about the training, all about helping people, blah blah blah, but didn't really have any business or marketing strategies or that behind it. I was very much a personal trainer and not really so much a business owner, and that kind of came round to bite me in the arse. Because people fell off, obviously. People don't pay a coach for the rest of their life. They pay it maybe 6 months, some people a year, some people do stay long term, but 9 times out of 10 the lifespan of a client is normally around 6 months. Because I didn't really have a background in marketing or business, whenever those people did fall off, I didn't really know what I was doing to try and get other people on board, apart from posting their before and after pictures, and that will get you a certain amount of people, but not really the interest that is needed to drive a business. So I kind of fell off a wee bit, got back into it again, and then properly focused on business, etc., and everything just kind of took off from there. Now, rewinding it the whole way back to the start. As a kid, I think, I can't remember what age, that's how old I am. As a youngster, I was very much running the streets. I wasn't in any way a troublemaker that you would say. Um, but I got into, fun fact, maybe most of you don't know, I got into skateboarding whenever I was quite young, and I honestly, wholeheartedly think that is where my sort of drive for practicing, repeating stuff, trying to get better at things, I think that's where it all stemmed from, was the skateboarding aspect of my youth. Because for those of you who don't know, who have never skateboarded or anything before, you go out, it's just you, and you're bored. Obviously, you have friends around you and stuff that also do it, but you're the only person that's going to make yourself get better at it. And the more you practice, the more time you put in, the more effort you put in, the better you're going to get. And I think I began to see that pretty early. And whenever you start to see yourself progressing, this comes into coaching as well. Whenever you start to see yourself progressing at something, that's whenever it kind of becomes addictive. And you like that feeling, you can see yourself getting better, and then you look back at how far you've came, and fuck, I didn't used to be able to do a kickflip, now I can do a kickflip, now I can do a 360 flip. Like, you you catch the bug for getting better and practicing something to get good at it. And I think that definitely came from my skateboarding days. My friends and that who I ran about with at the time also skied it. We all supported each other, getting better. We would have went around different places, seen different locations. Whenever you're even walking about, you say, geez, that would be a good spot to go skating at. So there was quite a big community at that time, especially around the Korean area, Harper's Hill and stuff, of skateboarding. So there was loads of people there. You could always go somewhere, and you knew somebody who also knew somebody who knew somebody, and you met new people, and you went new places, skated. Those people give you respect, and I think that's just kind of where it all came from. There used to be a skate park in Sunley, for those super young people who won't remember this, who are from the Harper's Hill or Korean area. There used to be a really good skate park in Sunley, with all the ramps and rails and boxes, etc. And we used to go there quite a bit and spend a lot of time there. One of my friends' mum actually worked there, so we were always pretty much there. But we also went around the places as well. There were skate parks in Belfast, all over the place. We went everywhere. But what you'll tend to find is people look down upon skateboarders, etc., even though they don't really know like the culture or the lifestyle or anything. Now, yes, there is a certain aspect, the exact same as everything, or every sport or everything you go to do. There's always going to be a certain aspect of ball baggedness, and mongoloids involved in it. But people kind of seen you as skateboard, thought you were up to something antisocial, didn't really like you much. But the amount of respect you got from people you didn't know who also skied it, I think that's what kind of kept you there. So you would have went to Sunley, because there's so many people there and there's only so much equipment, you're kind of standing in a line waiting to go with your board and do your trick or try a trick more than anything. And you would have went and you would have failed, and you would have tried again, you would have failed, you would have tried again, you would have fucked it up, you would have fell on your face. And then you would have come back up to the start point again. There's somebody else standing there. Oh, close, man. As you're close to, you get it. You know, and it was that support that kind of helped egg you on a wee bit. And then whenever you did go down and you did land the trick that you were trying to do, and you maybe spend half an hour trying to do it, I don't know if it's still the same, to be fair, but the sort of mark of respect between skateboarders at the time was they would have tapped their board on the ground, some people would have tapped it, some people would have fucking went nuts and banging the ramps and stuff. And that gives you that good feeling, you know, you landed it, you rolled away, and you just like that feeling of being accepted, trying something over and over again, then finally getting it. Kind of taught me those values of the more effort you put in, the more you get out of it, etc. And then as I sort of got older, the focus kind of switched a little bit, as any red-blooded teenage male. The focus kind of went more towards the female population and what they were interested in, where they were at, where they were hanging out, what they were doing. Skateboarding took up a lot of your time. To get good at it, you had to dedicate a load of time at it. So I was quite good. They blow my own trumpet. I was quite good at it, but I got away from it whenever I sort of started getting a wee bit older. Switched more into the football side of things. I'd always liked football, but I never really played it much, and I kind of switched my path onto football. And football and girls and going out and drinking was pretty much the lifestyle then. The same was said for football. I never really lost my competitive edge or my drive to get better. So I always had that in me, and I did get quite good at football as well. Nowhere close to actually becoming professional or playing in any sort of real proper level, but I definitely wasn't bad, and I would have got player of the year, etc. for teams that I was playing for and stuff. So I wasn't bad, but I wasn't spectacular. There's some people who I played football with who are now playing for bigger teams, who had trials elsewhere, who are now currently playing semi-professional football, etc. So there was definitely players better than me. Possibly if I spent more time in that area and focused more on it as opposed to drinking girls, I could possibly have got better at it. I will never know because I'm far too old now. But yeah, that kind of took my focus away from that side of things. Then I just got more into football, drink, girls, nightclubbing. Then it came towards sort of the end of school time, still not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life, kind of panicking a wee bit because I was never really super good at school, or came out of secondary school with loads of GCSEs, etc. I couldn't even tell you how many I got. I didn't get very many, I'll tell you that much. Which I still look back on, and it kind of makes me more proud of where I'm at now, because I know people who did well in school and who haven't got as far as I've got in business. So still blow my own trumpet on that point. I'm super happy with that, but I never really did super good at school. Didn't really like school, couldn't really be arsed going. Whenever Mum used to come into the room and just switch the light on in the mornings, I could have decked her in the face. So I was never really a fan of school or learning, etc. So it came to the end of school and I didn't really know where I was going, what I was doing. So I kind of just picked something, and that was, I liked cars. I was at that age where football, girls, drink, and I was passing my test to drive, like the souped up cars and the car scene and stuff. My Lord Sexo and all that good stuff. So I thought, mechanic, why not go mechanic? You know, working with cars, like cars, kinda. So why not? So went to tech, got accepted in the tech, to do mechanic, and I did. I think it was a 3-year course, if I remember correctly. And I think I did about a year of it before packing it in. Just, again, it was too much like school. Don't get me wrong, see the actual practical aspect of it. So out in the garage with I can't remember, John John, you called the guy I worked with. He owned his own garage from his house, so with tech you had to have somebody employ you to go. I think it was 3 days a week, or was it 2? It was 2 or 3 days out in the garage, and then it was 2 or 3 days in tech for or the written theory stuff. So I loved working out with John. I loved working the cars. Again, it was learning stuff. So, and it was I can't remember the word. Is it kinesthetic learner, where you learn as you sort of showed something and you do something? That's how I tend to learn, as opposed to sitting and reading a textbook. Do not ask me to sit and read a textbook to learn something, because you will not have a mission of me remembering that 5 minutes, 10 minutes later. No chance in hell. So I like the practical aspect of it. I liked learning how to do stuff. He would have showed me something I'd done it, and it got on quite well, where it got to a point where me and him were working together. We were only two in the garage because it was his own private garage, and there were certain jobs coming in where he would have turned around and says, right, Ricky, you've got this to do today, and he would have been doing something else. And again, that feels good. Responsibility, you know what you're doing, you know how to do it, and you just go on with it. But it was whenever we transitioned back into the theory side of things and the written stuff in tech, where you actually had to go into detail and write everything down, and all these touch points. You had to read these textbooks, you had to do all this written work, and it was just a fucking ball ache. So it was. I absolutely hated it. Did it for about a year. Got to the point where I was kind of falling behind with the paperwork side of stuff in the class, so it was kind of putting me off even more. And at the time, I also had a part-time job in an amusements down Portrush. It was called Gold Rush. It's still there. Still a lot of people who I work with there. Still there as well. I had a part-time job down there, and it was easy money. You didn't really have to do anything. You sat about, chatted to people, messed about on your phone for a whole shift, and got paid for it. And at the time, it was pretty good money. So you were coming out with over 200 quid a week. And at that age, you didn't really have any bills. You were living at home with parents. The only real bills you had was maybe your car. What else? Your drink expenses, So I was able to live quite comfortably on that amount of money and still have an awesome social life. So I said to myself, right, I'm doing this at tech. It's a complete ball ache. I could be doing more hours in Gold Rush and making more money, saving more money, going on holidays with the lads, having fun, get a nicer car, and again, have more money and not really be hard pushed. And that was too much of a temptation for me at the time. So, jumped ship, left tech, went and gave the manager of Gold Rush a phone call to see if I could get more hours. He says yes. So I went in there pretty much full time. And good money, easy work, proper sound fellas you're working with, easy life, no real worries. And I was there for years. And then it started to get boring, monotonous. Hated the thought, kind of like everything. You go and get a new job tomorrow, you're going to be buzzing, you're going to be starting. Give it a few months and you're going to be pissed off again. It's the same as anything. So it got to that stage where I was sick and tired of it, couldn't really be arsed, but I needed the money. I had a nice car at the time I had to pay an absolute fortune for. I had moved out with a girl I was with at the time who I was now living with. So I needed the money. And then it got to a stage where I didn't really have anywhere to go. I didn't have any, what you would call, prospects in that job. I was really pissed off with it. At this stage, I had moved back home again, and I was with somebody else, and we had booked a holiday for Florida. So it was still good money. But at the same time, at this time, I had actually stopped playing football for quite a while because I had injured myself. So I was playing football this whole time, And then I got injured in a match. I tackled somebody. They fell on top of me, and I twisted my back, blew my back out completely. It was the worst pain. I would never, ever, ever wish a bad back on anybody. It put me out for quite some time. I couldn't stand up, I couldn't sit down, I couldn't lie down. If I did lie down, I couldn't get comfortable. Whenever I was just standing still, I was getting shooting pain through my groin. And at this point in time, looking back on it, I probably should have went and seen a physio or whatever about it, but I never did. I just kind of grinned and bared it and mustered my way through it. But taking time off work, losing out on money, because even sitting in work in a chair like this, I couldn't sit. I had to go home. So whenever I started getting mobile again after a few weeks, I started going to the leisure centre gym to try and build myself strength-wise back up a wee bit. Some of my mates went there, so I thought, right, let's go there. Let's start building my strength back up again to get back to football. So I went to the gym, started getting stronger. Again, it's in my nature to kind of look things up. And to be fair, do you want to know something? I'll be totally honest with you. YouTube is friggin' awesome. I went down the YouTube route of researching things, typing something in about training, watching some videos on it. At the time, the likes of Christian Guzman, Matt Ogus, what do you call him? Chris Jones, all these kind of boys. For those of you who know them, people, you'll know them. For those who don't, these were YouTubers who were, I don't know if they still are. I know Christian's done really well. He owns the 3D energy drink. He's got a big massive gym. He's from Texas. He owns Alpha Elite clothing and stuff, so he's done really, really well for himself. But these were all YouTubers who I followed, and I would have put stuff in, and they're also coaches and PTs as well, so they were teaching you wee bits and pieces. At this time, I hadn't a fucking notion what I was doing. I was Billy Big Balls going in doing bench press and arm curls, but I picked up wee things here and there from then, and I give credit to them guys because they pretty much taught me all about energy balance and calories in, calories out, etc. While other people were looking at the stupid stuff like ketone drinks and slimming coffees and all these quick fixes and stuff. These guys actually taught me stuff. Now, I've learnt a hell of a lot more since then, and even some of the stuff that they spouted at the time, as much as I thought that was good, I've now learnt opposite. And with being in the business myself, I've learnt more and got a lot better, obviously. But at the time, it was good knowledge. Picked a few bits up. Started training, started seeing myself getting stronger. Chris Jones was very much one for like dirty bulking, as they would say. So eating as much food as you can and training as hard as you can, trying to put on as much muscle as you can. And that's kind of the route I want. So I was like, right, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to focus on my numbers, focus on getting stronger, get more reps, more weight over time, and just build myself up to get strong. So then this led on to the part where us booking Florida. So we booked Florida. I was very strong at the time, but I was also very fluffy. No definition whatsoever. Just thick and strong. And I thought, right, I want to cut back. I want to get lean. I want a 6-pack to go to Florida with. How do I do it? Watched more YouTube. Took some tips and advice, started implementing those tips and advice, and started to see progress. Now, looking back on it now, I could have done so much more, and I could have done it so much better. But I got pretty damn good results by myself, following what these guys say on YouTube. Now, I don't recommend going and doing that and just searching YouTube for information, but it is a good place. You're maybe watching this on YouTube, so it is a good place. But at the same time, there is some amount of bullshit on it as well. But I got pretty damn good results from just listening to these guys implementing what I thought was good and what I like doing, cutting back here, adding in this, doing this, tweaking this whenever it needed tweaked, watching my body transform and getting better. And I got in pretty good shape. Went to Florida, super impressed, super happy, super confident in my physique and how I looked. And whenever I got back from Florida, then obviously people seen my pictures. Social media was about at the time, so posting up before and after pictures. And then you start to get loads of messages. It was mad, from friends and people who you kind of knew from around the area but had never really spoke to before, dropping you messages asking you how you did this and how did you do that, and asking for tips and tricks. And I was giving them advice and giving out tips, and I started writing up training programs for my friends, and started giving people my training program and started helping them out and giving them tips, and it just kind of snowballed a wee bit. At this time I was still working in Gold Rush down the port, and I was really pissed off with that. And I thought, well, people get paid for this. Like, this is a job. I'm getting messages, asking questions, giving advice, telling people what to do when it comes to their training and eating and nutrition and transforming their body. And I thought, I could do this. I like this. I enjoy it. People get paid for it. It would get me out of Gold Rush. So why not? And at this point then I was now training in energy in Korean. And one of the guys in there who I knew growing up from school and from the gym as well, etc., was Jay Dunlop. And I got chatting to him one day. He maybe not even remember, but I said to him about it in the changing rooms. And he says, yeah, I should do it. I'm pretty sure at the time he had just finished doing a show. And he says, yeah, he should do it. And he gave me the contact details for who he went through to get his qualifications. He was a PT. So he done his qualifications and went through these certain people. He gave me the contact info. And I sat on it for a wee while. And hemmed and hawed about it. Looked into it. Quite a bit of money to book onto the courses and stuff. And I thought, fuck it, I'm going to do it. So I asked him what way they worked in energy, how he worked for them. He was self-employed, how to pay them rent, etc., and all this here stuff. And I thought, right, fuck it, I'm going to do it. So I bit the bullet. I paid on to my level 2, and it was predominantly an online course, so I could do it while still working in Gold Rush and kind of do it on the side. And I think it took nearly a year to go through. I could have done it in friggin' 12 weeks. Now that you look back at it and you see how little you actually learn on the level 2. But because I was doing it part-time, some online, and sometimes you had to go to Belfast for an exam, etc., it took about a year. Then I passed my level 2 and went straight into my level 3. And level 3 was a wee bit more intense, more anatomy and physiology and surgeons, all this here jargon that nobody really cares about or that you need to know about. But straight into my level 3 anyway. And it took a bit of time to do that. It was back and forth to Belfast every weekend, etc., to pass it. So I eventually passed it. Didn't have an absolute notion what I was doing or where I was going or how I got. Like, I was just a new PT and I didn't really know what I had to do next. You were just kind of give this certificate. And fun fact, I didn't actually even get a certificate. I had a wee, I'm pretty sure it was about a year to get the certificate. But you were passed, you were qualified anyway. I reached out to the manager of Energy at the time, who was Gil, and said to him, listen, I've just passed, been training here for a year, 2 years, however long it was. So I'd known him already. What is the chances of me working out of Energy? He told me that there was no problem with it whatsoever, but there was one PT who was ready to leave in like 3 or 4 weeks after we were talking. So he says, listen, wait till this guy leaves and whenever he leaves, you can take his spot. This is what way we work. This is how it's done. And looking back on it now, it's not bad, but energy is the most expensive place for a PT to work out of. You're self-employed. You have to pay them rent, and there's a lot of gyms out there who are a lot cheaper. Straight to it, energy was, I think it was 1 week or 2 weeks you got for free, where you didn't have to pay any rent, and then you were straight into paying £100 each and every week. Whether you had clients or you didn't have clients, whether you were taking people for sessions or you weren't taking people for sessions, you had to pay them rent £100 each and every week. So that's £5,200 a year, and see nothing from it, just to use their facility. Now you bear in mind you've got people in there paying membership of £20 a month. Yes, we're making money from it, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. As you think about it, it's over £400 on average per month. That's more than some people's mortgage. But at the time, you're making okay money. You were scraping past. You had enough clients coming in. You kind of put yourself out there a wee bit. But you were out that money each and every week, no matter what. So we done that. Built myself up to a good point in energy, and then, as I said, I kind of fell off a bit because absolutely no clue about marketing, no clue about business, no clue about lead generation, no clue really about like social media strategies or anything like that. So I kind of was just working off kind of word of mouth pretty much. And that did take me for quite a long time, but it got to a point where there was 11 or 12 PTs in energy. And it's not, for those of you who aren't around the Korean area, it's not a massive gym. It's big. It's probably the biggest gym in Korean, but it's not massive to warrant the amount of PTs that were in there. Whenever I started, there was 4 or 5. There was me, Jay. There was 5. There was 5 PTs whenever I started, and then bear in mind I had to wait for somebody to leave until I got in. But then all of a sudden, all these other PTs started coming in. I think that's when energy just kind of switched, and they were just looking money through the door, which each to their own. But built myself up in there. Then there was a lot of competition. Had no clue about all those things. Kind of fell off the wagon a wee bit. Got a part-time job somewhere else, which led on to me taking more hours there as well. And it wasn't because I was a bad coach. It was because I didn't have the strategies or business savviness to work it. But then I started getting back into it again. Took on some more clients whilst having a wee part-time job just for the security, because I was, as I say, I was living with Emma, who's my girlfriend now. I was living with her at the time, so I had bills and stuff going out, so I needed that sort of security blanket. But then I built myself up to a certain point where I could just say, no, that's me. I've built myself up to this point. I'm going to bite the bullet again, go full-time, self-employed, and it's paid off. It has paid off for the past, 3-4 years, I would say. Now it's definitely paid off. I know a lot more now. I'm a much better coach. I have systems in place. I have business savviness to a certain degree where I know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, etc. But to be honest, I think we're all just kind of winging it to a certain extent. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I know this is, the first episode has gone on almost 40 minutes. But that's me right up to this date. We're now sitting in the midst of a lager lurgy, and everybody's locked in the house. Pardon me, we've all had to transition onto online training, which, fun fact, whenever I first started, that's what I wanted to do, because these guys who I was following on YouTube at the time were all online coaches. And that's kind of what I liked, their lifestyle and what they'd done and what they were able to do with online coaching and stuff. But I did think I wanted that degree of touch time in the gym with people, knowing how people work, learning from people themselves, completely new people. I had obviously worked my way through, so I was kind of savvy whenever it came to training and exercise. So if I wanted to do a new exercise, I could just do it straight off the bat, where somebody that's new to training can't really do that. They've got a couple, you have to learn sort of coaching points and coaching techniques in order to teach them how to do the exercise. So learning all that definitely was worth it. But I always did want to kind of transition into online coaching, maybe only taking a handful of one-to-one clients. So that's where we're at now. Locked in the house with a larger lurgy. Nobody even able to go to a gym at all. Everybody training from home. Everybody absolutely smashing it. And my team coached by Cosgrove, Team CBC, is absolutely nailing everything. One of the things that I say is the most important whenever it comes to coaching and reaching your goals and your targets, is one, the determination to be able to get better over time and tick these boxes, kind of like me with the skateboarding and the football, etc. But also having the SAS. My SAS model is structure, accountability, and support. You could even take those three things and take it back to the skateboarding days. So like, you had the structure of, I knew when I got home from school, I was going out on my board, I was going to this certain place, each and every day. This is just what I'd done. So that was the structure behind it. That was the plan. The accountability was from your pals and your friends who were also going out, who were at the time old school text messages on your fucking Nokia 3310 playing Snake, telling you to meet them at this place or that place, and you were going there. Old school Genie SIM card. If you don't know what a Genie SIM card is, you're far too young. Genie SIM card was, I think it was £10 a month you topped up in the shop, and it got you unlimited text messages, and you still kept your £10 as well. Friggin' awesome. But yeah, you had that accountability from your pals messaging, but come on, let's go, blah, blah, blah. It's raining. You maybe say, it's raining today, can't be ours. Come on, we'll go to what was called the SO Garage at the time, or these different places that had roofs over it, and you could go and ski anyway. And it got you out of the house, got you fresh air. You had that accountability from them. Then you had the support from everybody in the community. So as I was saying about Sunday, you landed a trick after trying it for half an hour and feeling and falling on your face. They tapped the boards. You had that support from everybody shouting, yeah, cheering you on. So that's those SAS from the skateboard days. Same said for the football. Structure was the plan when you went to training, when you had matches, and when you're just having a kickabout with your friends. The accountability from your coaches at the time and the manager of the football team, making sure you're there, messaging you, making sure you're at training, and then the support from family, friends, your teammates, again, the management and stuff. So the SAS model is so important. Structure with a structured plan to get you to where you want to be. The accountability from your peers, your coaching mentors, or whatever it may be. Then the support from the like-minded people around you. The support from your friends, family, coaches, whatever it may be. You also need that support. So with that SAS model, my team CBC are absolutely smashing it. We went through a few photo shoots last year with team members. We've already got photo shoots booked for this year for team members who are no, photo shoots aren't for everybody, but for the ones who are super proud of how far they've came, and they want sort of to do the whole photo shoot professional style thing. It's an awesome goal to have, and we've got some booked for this year. So that is the plan for 2020, just get those people ready. That is episode number 1, ladies and gents. 44 minutes. Hopefully, for those who have listened this far and got the whole way through it, thank you very much. This caffeine with the monster and coaching chats are going to try for once a week. I don't really know how often. Shoot for once a week. once every other week at the very least, going forward. But I'm going to do different things with the podcast. So I'll have Q&As, I'll have guests on, I'll have guest speakers on, I'll have interviews with my coaches and my business mentors and stuff, and interviews with my clients and my team members to give you their story, where they came from, how they got to where they want to go, and all that good stuff. So thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode number 2.